in game of baseball that is so hard, physically and mentally demanding every day. It beats you down, and it's the best part you can do is literally wake up with the morning ready to get beat down again.
Arteaga drives one to center. Miller hustling over. Diving catch by Ian Miller. A great catch.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the 9-Hole Podcast. This is your host, Ian Miller. Today, I am joined by two-time All-Star and an all-around awesome person on and off the field, Jason Kipnis. How you doing, brother?
God, I miss you.
Man, I miss you, dude. How's life, dude?
Just happy to see what you're doing right now and happy to be on. Thank you for having me.
Dude, it's it's awesome to have you here. It's awesome to see what you're doing after baseball. I see you on foul territory. I see what you got going on there, dude. It's awesome to see your takes on stuff, your insight, and how it ties into your experience, dude. It's absolutely beautiful to see it. What is life like right now for you? Baseball's been such a pivotal part of your career. You've done it forever, dude. Now baseball's done. Like at some point, everybody's career is going to come to an end at some point, man. What are you doing right now to kind of like stay sane?
Well, baseball's been done for me for a few years. And to be honest, like I got away from the game. I didn't want to be around the game. I don't know if it was just the way, like a lot of players handle it differently, retirement or being done playing. And the way I handled it was, I feel like I was bitter. I felt like I was mad at the game for no reason other than my own or just being done. It was probably because I wanted to still be playing or what have you. So I didn't watch baseball. I just, anytime it was on, I changed the channel. And now you see with foul territory, with coming on here, doing stuff, the love's just too strong. And so I'm making my way back to it and getting back involved with it. And I feel like I still have stuff to offer the game, even if it's not as a player anymore. So I'm helping out. With my high school team. One of my buddies got the head varsity gig, so I told him I'd help out as much as I could there. So I've been going to practices and games, and I told him I'm not on the payroll. I'm not an assistant coach. I said I don't want to be an assistant because I would never let him be my boss. I would never let. I was like, I'm a special advisor, so I can come and go as I please. And you can't tell me what to do. That was the main thing. That was my only requirements. You don't have to pay me. I'll be there. I've been there a lot. And right now we just won the regionals. And the next game will be Wednesday, this upcoming week. So that's been a big part of my schedule. I think we have 2 more classes before I graduate.
Okay. Oh, so, what are you getting the degree in?
I think I switched to, I think, just like a liberal studies or liberal arts degree. Quick, shortest way from A to B for me with the classes that I had already taken when I was an athlete or a student. Yeah, exactly. A student back at Arizona State. Yeah, the Freudian slip right there. And you know what? I told my mom I'd graduate. I promised her I would. So we're 2 classes away. I will for sure be walking that aisle once it's done. Something that, I don't have much to do with that degree, but it's something I said I do, so I'm going to do it. It's something I'll be able to tell my kids that I did it, so you got to kind of thing, and have on the wall and be proud of. But that's keeping me busy. And then this is found another sport to abuse me mentally. Found a golf bug, and so I have that sport now just beating me up as opposed to baseball for the last 25 years.
It's fantastic, bro. It's fantastic to hear all that stuff. Staying active, staying busy, dude. It's extremely badass with finishing up the degree. Kind of when COVID was going on, I wasn't sure about my future in the sport. Going into that COVID 2020, I mean, it was crazy, dude. So I actually took a couple courses after we had been teammates for a small time, dude. And it absolutely kicked my ass, bro. So I got an insane amount of respect for you having the career and the success you've had. The business stuff that you got going on behind the scenes, staying active, staying busy, dude. You could just chill out for the rest of your life, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to be able to like finish that, dude, I think that's admirable. I think that's awesome, bro.
Did you finish?
No, dude. So I knocked out two courses in an off season, and that's as far as I've gotten. So I've gotten a little less than a year to go, dude.
I'm going to say 2 things because I understand what you're going through. If you got less than a year, you're close. You're knocking on the door. I think you've put in all the other work. Just see it through.
Yeah.
The second time I've been exactly probably what you're talking about, where it's just like anytime it's hard or anytime you don't want to do it for a homework standpoint now, especially when you're as old as we are or you're just past it, you're not going to use the degree maybe or something like that. You're just like, why do I need to do this every time it gets hard, right? It's such an easy thought to have or to cave into, but it's a personal thing. It's a personal pride thing. And it's just like you put in all that work of the prior classes.
For sure.
It's like you're as close as that as I was probably when I started going back to school too. I'd like to think it gets easier because we're older and wiser now. I think we know maybe sometimes we know how to answer the questions rather than the answer to the question. So you use your age and wisdom that you've garnished or that you've gathered rather in the last however many years since college and see it through. I think you'll be proud of yourself when you do.
Love that, dude. That's fantastic advice. That's man, that's what I'm looking for right there. So this is obviously the 9-Hole podcast, man, where I'm here trying to provide insight and just, inspiration to the next generation of baseball players, man, student athletes. I'm trying to relate to the ones that aren't, 6'5", throw 100, hit 40 home runs a year. You know what I mean? Like the average dude, just trying to let them know, like, man, anything's possible. That is fantastic advice right there. I absolutely love it. And to hit on that, man, obviously you had a fantastic career that spanned, 10 major league seasons, bro. You spent 9 of those in Cleveland. So today, the sponsor of today's stream is somebody that I've been partnered up with in the past. So the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, man, more specifically, the Cleveland Student Visionaries of the Year, man. So in Northeast Ohio, there are a bunch of high schools. Man, there were 37 teams from a bunch of high schools in Northeast Ohio that went on a 7-week, they just fundraising campaign where they tried to raise as much money as they could in hopes of finding a cure for blood cancer. Man, raised over $1 million, $1,053,209 this year. In that Cleveland Student Visionaries of the Year, man. Figured that would make you, pretty proud, man. They were excited to be on here, man. So I'd love to give them a shout out, man. And they're fired up that you are here. And man, obviously I'd love to dive into some of the things that you had to go through in your journey, some things that worked for you. I spend a lot of time on here talking like to the next generation of athletes, as we just said, but how do you stand out? How do you separate? So man, I'd love to ask you some questions about the shit that's worked for you in your career. I'd love to ask you some questions about like some advice and some insight, man, and ask you some fun personal questions, man, that, I won't get too risky with them, dude, but I'd love to run you through it, bro. So like right off the bat, you grew up in Chicago, dude. Man, reading up on you, obviously, like I knew you lived in Chicago when I played out there. Man, saw the house, saw everything you had going on, the roots you had tied in Chicago, bro. What was it like when you played for Cleveland? You had such a historic run with Cleveland, the longevity you had there. What was it like, growing up in Cleveland? Growing up in Chicago, playing for Cleveland. Like, what was that like? Did that make, the fans going back home, the family, was that a little tough?
Hold on. You broke out for 1 second. That was on my end, I think. But I got you back now. You hear me?
Yeah. What was it like? So you grew up in Chicago, played for Cleveland, dude. Dude, what was that like, man? Was it tough going back home? Family reunions and everything. Everybody's a Cubs fan.
Yes and no. So going back and playing them, it was weird. It was like I wish I would have been able to play anybody else in the World Series too in 16. I was just like, come on, because I know the lovable losers. I grew up going to a sports camp that took field trips to Cubs games. My brothers and sisters, like my sister has like a Chris Bryant jersey. My brothers were like, my friends were like, I have 4 of my best friends were season ticket holders. That being said, and I'm proud of them and thankful for them when it came down to it, and it never even was remotely close to being a question. They dropped the Cubs act, the Cubs jerseys, everything, and they were Cleveland from the first pitch to the last pitch to even to now, they're like, we're really not Cubs fans anymore. But
Dude, I get it.
and it's good. That goes to show how important an inner circle is for you, to have that kind of support where they're like, they were all Cleveland all the way. And it was tough. It was tough to go back home and know all the history of the team and all the players and all the friends and families and family friends that were Cubs fans. And it's like, you got teachers who are in Cubs jerseys, like yelling at you during the World Series from, like, I had high school teachers. Some of it was in jest and good fun. But like, I'm on the on deck circle and I'm being called a traitor. I'm being called like all this. It's like I got to choose where I got drafted or anything like that.
For sure.
And I think the best thing you do is, like, not only in life, but in the game of baseball more so, it's like, find what works. And so what worked for me is I adopted the like villain mentality. I was like, I wanted to come home for Thanksgiving or Christmas and be the black sheep. I wanted to be like, I wanted to have just a glass of wine, a full plate, and everybody like staring at me and me just being like, oh, what's wrong? What's the matter?
Right.
Like, I wanted the hate. You start to like want the hate because you change your mindset about it. And it's like, you start eating it up. It doesn't affect you the way you thought it might. It doesn't get to you. It just like, it feels you a little bit. But fast forward, I think they all got their best wish is that I played well and the Cubs won. It's just the way that it turned out, unfortunately, for my end, but for their end, it's there. And I stayed away from Chicago for a month almost, because I didn't want to come home to the parade. I didn't want to see it, but it's hard to still get around. I'd say once a day, if I leave my house, whether I'm golfing, whether I'm going to a dinner or something, it's like you see at a gas station, you'll see a 2016 Cubs World Series shirt, or you just see the W somewhere. And it's weird because it's like, I almost forget that like I played on the Cubs too. After that, we played on the Cubs in 2020, and it's just like immediately, instead of the pride of playing on them and we won the division and all that, it just immediately goes to like the 16 series, obviously. And it's like, but it's like, I still have both. It's both.
I get it, man. I get it. I remember watching that 16 series, dude. I remember watching it. I'm not even going to get into it. I know you've been asked about it a million times before, dude, but I wanted to jump into something that you said about being the black sheep. You get chirped around enough, right? It's like you use it as fire. You use it as like the chip on your shoulder. You love it. Would you say that that's something that helped you separate from the pack, achieve longevity in the game, had the success that you've had in your career? Like, what would you say attributed to all of those factors?
I hinted on it in that sentence too. Finding what works for you. If pointing the bat backwards at the catcher results in hits, damn it, point the bat back at the catcher every at bat. If thinking it's cool to be the villain and wanting to piss off family and friends, then become the villain. It's in game of baseball that is so hard, physically and mentally demanding every day. It beats you down, and it's the best part you can do is literally wake up with the morning ready to get beat down again. You're like, that hurt. You wake up, you're like, let's do it again. Like, because you have to find something to like hold on to. And what you hold on to is you're like, all right, baseball, that hurt yesterday. But I was like, but I saw some good backspin when I did this at the plate, or I had a little success with that. And it's like, you hold on to little stuff, but you find what works for you. And it's like, it's such a game of constant adjustments that if you don't find something that gives you success, you're not going to be playing.
Yeah.
I don't care how it looks. I don't care if you want to be this flashy player and wear the coolest stuff and all that stuff. If you don't find a way to catch the ball and throw the ball and have good at bats and make a bunt, get guys over and play the game, you're not going to be playing. So I think, to me especially, and I thought that's where you and I actually got along very well, as much as we'd like to joke around, though, it's like like you said earlier, we're not the 6'3" guys. We're not hitting at 500 feet, all that stuff. We're the dirtbags. We're the guys who play the game hard, who run stuff out, who fundamentals. And my advice for the younger generation is and I heard this somewhere and I want to echo it, is in such a show me state the game is in right now, where it's kind of like the be seen, do flashy stuff, all that stuff. The guy who does the fundamentals is almost the guy that stands out now.
Mm.
That's almost how you get noticed now. Is the guy who's just that everyday Eddie, reliable. You can count on him. You can write his name in the lineup 7 days a week, and just you can write it in pen, and just that you're like, I know this guy. I can count on that guy. It's not. That's the guy who I want on my team, not the guy who like does all the slides and like the flashy stuff. You're like, I want that guy because I know what I got with that guy. This guy might look cooler, but this guy's going to win games. And so I think that's, if I'm going to give any advice, it's like the game will go in rotation and it'll come back to where it's like gone a little bit to this way. And I think fundamentals and playing the game the right way never goes out of style to me. And I think that's never a bad idea to do that. I think that's how you stand out a little bit.
Oh, dude, that is absolutely fantastic. I talked about small ball on the 9-hole podcast a bunch before, man. Like bunting is kind of like a fucking lost art. You know, stolen bases are in style now, right? There's different rules and stuff that maybe, you know, help base runners and stuff, but like moving runners over, scrapping out ABs, like doing all the vanilla stuff and doing it at a high level, right? Not necessarily just trying to gain attention all the time, trying to stand out, dude.
No one wants to do it.
Yeah.
No one wants to do it. And they don't teach it in the minor leagues anymore because you're almost getting pissed if you get like the bunt sign. You're like, well, I want to hit a double and an RBI because that's how I'm going to get noticed down here and get called up. It's like, what you don't know is that coach that you're playing for right now gives reports. And his report to them is like, hey, this guy he knows the signs. He got the sign. He got it done. This guy you can count on to win ball games. So everyone, the mindset is like, I want to be this guy that stands out. But it's like, you get to that level, you better be a guy that helps them win games or you're not going to be there.
Amen.
Yeah.
Makes a ton of sense. I love that. I appreciate you elaborating on that a little bit. Moving on here, man, I wanted to talk about kind of peeling the curtain back on your career when you're in the big leagues, man. You put out a fantastic career. Like I said, 2-time All-Star, 260 career hitter, man. That is fucking insane. Did you have a cool call-up story? So like mine on my end, dude. I came up with the Mariners. I got traded over to the Twins, and like I was there for 30 days before I got called up September 1st. I just had a cup of coffee up top, man, with the Twins. So it was like I didn't know anybody. They called me back in the office when I'm in AAA after a game. They just said, hey, you've never been up before, right? I'm like, no, but it's September 1st and I'm not playing. Like, what's going on? Am I getting called up? He's like, yeah. Shook my hand and that's it. Dude, that was it. I didn't have, you know what I mean? It wasn't like the fairy book. You know, you make a story out of it, dude. Did you have a cool call up, man? Was it like memorable?
Kind of in the middle.
Okay.
I think the team was playing well in the first half of Cleveland, but you could tell the second baseman wasn't doing that well. I feel like it was at that time, it was Orlando Cabrera was actually on the team. And I think Cord Phelps was above me before he got called up and he was struggling to get situated up there. And I started to go off in AAA, and I wasn't knocking on the door. I was pounding on the door, and I thought it was coming. And a week goes by, doesn't come. 2 weeks go by, doesn't come. I start slumping, and I think for 2 weeks I start slumping, and I'm talking a bad slump where it's like the confidence is starting to go too, because I was like, I thought I'd not missed my chance. I thought I'd earned my chance and just didn't get it. And then I come in on July like 20th, I want to say, into the AAA's manager's office, get called in, and he's like, hey, I know where you've been, because I had a real good relationship with him. And he's like, sometimes when you think you're in, you're out. He's like, and sometimes when you're out, you're actually in. And I was just like, I'm like, what does that mean? I was like, is that what I think it is? I was like, he's like, I know you're not feeling the best right now. He's like, but you're going up. And I was like, oh my God.
Let's go.
So it's a rush. You go and call immediately your parents and whoever and give them the story. So it's just a constant rush of emotions where you keep reliving the same conversation, but it's such a good conversation you don't care. But you have to rely on it's like, and you know this because you've made it too, where it's just like you go to high A and you're like, I might not belong, and then you start playing and 10 games in, you're like, oh no, I belong. And you get to double A and you're like, damn, I know about these guys. This is double A. This is supposed to be a big jump. And you're like, I don't know if I'm going to make 10 games later. You're like, oh no, I made it. I'm fine here. I'm fine here. It's still the game of baseball. Triple A. And you have to use that experience once you get to the show, because I got to the show and I think I was 0 for my first like 8 or 9. And I was just like, am I ever going to get a hit? Because that slump had continued. And I was just like, now I'm up here and it's like, I'm gripping it tighter and I'm more like just everything was, I was like, fuck, am I going to make it? But it's like, after you get your first hit and you're just like, you settle down. You always hear how the game slows down. You're like, oh no, I can do this. This is still, the names are bigger. The faces are more recognizable. The game's a little faster and stronger, but it's still the game of baseball. And it's like, that's where I was like, find what works, where it's like, if I can do this on a 94-mile-an-hour pitch, it doesn't matter whether it's an unknown guy in Double-A or a Cy Young Award winner. If it's 94 on the black and I know this works and I do it, you're like, wow, I did it on a backfield in spring training. Now I'm doing it on an ESPN game. You're like, because you know what it works and you do it when it works. That's when I say find what works. And it's really cool because especially the first part of your career where it's like you're playing against all the players you see on SportsCenter, or you played in a video game and all that stuff. You're like, I just got to hit off this guy. Or like, I had his baseball card or something like that. But it's still the same game of baseball that's allowing you to do that. So I say just make playing the game of baseball the most important thing. Catching the ball, getting outs, getting hits.
It's awesome, dude. That is fantastic, man. How important was like a routine, having a set routine, relying on a routine? Like what kind of role did that play in your career, dude? You played a long time, dude.
You have to have one, I think, and that's what you come to find out. And I think if you ask a bunch of guys, they're going to be you hear it pretty much across the board, 10 out of 10. They're going to be like, no, it's very important to have a routine. Because if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't know how to get you in check and have checkpoints, like I said, if I need to hit 94 on the black away, what gets me confident in doing so? Whether it's, okay, practice T put it on the black away, then front toss. Hey, can you go away so I can practice hitting it? And you build up to like a game, and that's where the routine comes in. You're like, this gets me ready to be the best version of myself. Because if I don't have any routine, I'm going to go in so many different directions. I'm going to have, I have cage ADD or a gym ADD where it's just like, I'll do one set of something. And I'm like, ooh, what's that? And I'll go over there. And like, ooh, what's this drill? And I'll try that. And you're like, you're not getting better too much. Just like, you got to have something to work on that gets your mind and your hands and like everything in check. You're like, okay, I've checked off this whole list. I'm ready to go play a game. That's where routine comes in importance. Got
it. What was like, not even physically at the field, man? What was your pregame routine? What was your routine going into the game? So let's say if we had a 7:05 first pitch tonight, man, what would be your routine before you even got to the field? Are you like an 8 hours guy and then wake up, get coffee, breakfast, boom? What do you got?
I'm an 11 hours guy.
Really?
But buddy, I like my sleep.
Yes.
And I it changed over the course of my career. I was a night owl through the minor leagues and even early parts of the career. I would like video games and stuff like that. And I'd start a movie at like midnight and be fine. I mean, yeah, we've talked too off this, and like fast forward, it's like I won't start a movie past 8 o'clock now.
Yeah, dude.
But like, you have to learn. You have to learn what works. And so I slept in, and because I wanted to be rested, because usually when I get up, I shoot out of a cannon. Not a huge like coffee guy. Well, I am now, but I wasn't always then. But it's like, I didn't want too much free time, but I wanted enough time to get everything done. Because when you have enough time to get everything done, then you don't have too much time to fuck around.
Yep.
Because if like I said, that my ADD or like where I'm just like, ooh, a ping pong table. You want to play a game? Like I don't even want to have that time to play it because I know I'll do it. So I don't even give myself that option. So it's like you procrastinate on a homework assignment. And it's like, hey, I don't have time to come back to this later. I got to do it now. So I left only this amount of time for myself. So I get to the field. I would be one of the earlier guys there, but like 1:30 or something. Hot tubs or contrast, stretch, roll out, cage work, go take ground balls, come back in, eat. Give myself probably 45 minutes just to lay on a chair, watch some film if I need to, or hang out in the training room. Do like the Normatec or something just to calm myself down. Early in my career, I would be able to take power naps. I could put a hoodie over my head and curl up in a ball on the ground and
Ooh.
Yeah, knock out a REM cycle. Then later on, I just had to like calm my mind different ways, and then around 5:30, you go into a hot tub, contrast again, maybe end on a cannonball into the cold tub to really wake yourself up. Get out real fast, shower, change, get all the stuff I need on, whether it's wrist tape or icy hot on your back, and get in the cage to. You're not doing your full thing, but it's a miniature version of your checklist. Get through your checklist, get a couple live pitches in, and go out, get some sprints in, and it's go time from that on. And then it's just kind of you're in it. Once that switch is flipped, it's go time.
Dude, I love that. I feel like, again, extremely appreciative of your time, everybody. We are here with Jason Kipnis. Obviously, fantastic to have him here. Man, from my experience, the dudes that I've seen that were up there in my limited time that I was up there, they didn't fuck around pregame, right? Obviously, everybody keeps it lighthearted. There's not insane amounts of hard asses up there, but they're professional when they go about getting their work done, and it looks different for everybody, right? I'm not saying everybody's got to has a strict diet and routine before games and stuff. Like I get it, people can go crazy, but if the professionals up top, the best in the game, if they know that they need to do something or get some sort of work done, like they will get it done. You know what I mean? And it's something that is not prolonged.
I think, and you got to witness this. I fuck around with the best of them. I like to have fun. I like to make sure everybody's in a good mood and everybody's pumped to play that day. I like to joke around constantly, but I do it while getting my stuff done. The joke isn't taking in place of what I need to get done. I may be telling jokes or messing with someone while I'm stretching, but not instead of stretching. So, I mean, you recall this. So even if like we're screwing around in the dugout or something, or having a blast, you're like, if we need to be doing something, well, then let's go screw around and warm up and go hit in the cage and get ready for at-bats or start jogging it. So it's like, I'll have the best time as anyone, but it's not going to be in place of doing what I'm supposed to do.
For sure, man. I absolutely love that. So if anybody is coming up in the game of baseball, they dream about making it to the pinnacle, making it to the big leagues, and having a 10+ year career the way you did. Obviously, the numbers are not in favor of people being able to have longevity in the career, let alone getting there. Man, so just this is common knowledge. It's public. Anybody can go online and see, what kind of contracts you had signed, what type of salaries and earnings you've accrued over your career. Man, I wanted to break it down a little bit. So obviously, baseball players get paid 6 months out of the year, right, during the season, and then those off season 6 months, man, you're just kind of hanging on. You're not getting paid. Some guys they use their time wisely, some don't. Man, in a 2-week period, what was the most money you ever made in Major League Baseball, if you don't mind me asking?
In a 2-week period, because the 1st and the 15th are special days.
Yes, they are.
And that was always an ongoing joke where I would like you bring in donuts on the 1st and the 15th, and it'd be hilarious. And then they'd be like, "Why are you in a good mood?" I'm like, "It's the 1st." There's something like that because a paycheck's coming. It's like it is a great day, and it's fun to be lighthearted and have fun with it. And it reminds you of how lucky we are to do that. But in a 2-week period, my highest year income would have been 2019. I was probably clearing after taxes. Yeah, I mean, this is all public. So I was probably clearing $650K at paycheck.
Oh, baby. It's fantastic, brother.
And that's when it gets really just stupid because yes, I have nice cars, but it's like, I don't need them.
Yeah.
I got them because I want them and I've enjoyed them and I will drive them until the tires go bald. But it's like, I'm not that like, it's weird to be in a Bentley and be like, I'm not materialistic, but it's like, I'm happy in any car. Like it's fine. I'm very fortunate and lucky enough to enjoy these things. And so that's where it's not like lost on me, where it's like, oh man, why are you driving this? Like, I'll take this through McDonald's drive-thrus and through like everything. And people are like, oh, that's like a weekend car. I was like, I will drive this everywhere.
I love it.
So I'm very grateful for it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I did, man. I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you that. I just wanted to highlight it because it's something that isn't necessarily talked about too much, man. Obviously, if you have a dream and you're willing to work and sacrifice and just be fucking relentless in the pursuit, like that's what the pinnacle. You know what I mean? Like that is damn near the pinnacle. That's incredible, man.
And well, thank you. And then anytime you think you're like, I got it good, you think about some of the bigger contracts. Some of those top guys, those Bryce Harpers and those, like what those paychecks must be looking like.
Couldn't even fathom.
Like every time I look on like Redfin or Zillow or something, houses, I'm like, damn, I can't afford. I was like, who can afford these? It's like every time you think you're rich, there's someone writing your checks too. So that's what I always learned. It's like you think there's someone who's paying you. And I'm like, oh yeah. But yeah, no, we're very lucky to make what we did in the time that we did.
For sure, man. I love all that, man. Love all that. So, just a couple more questions I got for you. Again, extremely appreciative of your time, man. I think I know this question, but I wanted to hit on it and ask you the specifications and stuff. First of all, what kind of glove did you use?
I switched from Wilson halfway through my career to Rawlings.
Okay.
Well, look, here you go.
Look at that.
Here you go. Got it on for you.
Fantastic.
It is Pro S204/2KB Pro. So This was a pro preferred Rawlings. Cool part is you always get to customize it and all that stuff. I never fully learned how to shape a glove, and that was my fault. Really? I think I have the wreck. I used 4 different gloves in one game. I had an OCD about my glove on defense because, and people will disagree with me on this, where I was like, the only way I was a good defender, there's probably people like, you were never a good defender. The only way I was a good defender is because I was neurotic about where I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to be doing, and how my glove was. So it's like, I would take a ground ball backhand and it would pop out and I'd be like, oh shit. And it would be in my head. I'd almost be like out of position because I'm moving to make sure the ball's to my forehand. Like it's there. So like I did like the way I caught the ball, switch gloves. And like one popped out, had an error, switch that glove. And I used 4 gloves in one game because you can see me always, if you go back to any tape or something, they had cameras on me on defense. I am like, it had to be in the most perfect spot every single pitch. Like that's probably my forearms got big just from like folding my glove constantly. So I switched Wilson to Rawlings, and I wish I learned how to fully. I had teammates shape gloves for me. I had anyone and everyone try, and I only had a good glove for like 6 months, and it just happened to be the one 16 year where I really liked the World Series glove that I had. So it's like I had the good one that I wanted and trusted during the biggest time, but I sucked at shaping gloves, and the wrong person to ask about it.
I love it, man. Nah, I love that. How about what about bat, man? So obviously, like, there's variability in bats. Being a Major League Baseball player, especially a reputable one, you have the choice to vary, do any type of specifications you want to it, man. What kind of bat did you use? What sort of model? Top heavy, not balanced, and like what was the weight and height and stuff?
So I came up when Louisville Slugger was still big. It's come back now to where it's made a resurgence, but it was like that was the old pro stock, and like double dipped was the cool thing to do and all that stuff when you're in the minor leagues. Like that was the cool stuff. I was a C243 guy. And once I got to find a company that I really liked, I went to Arizona State where Barry Bonds and Pedroia, and at the time they were using Sambat with the little like gold bat wings.
Yeah.
So I started using Sambat, and also I loved Pujols when he was St. Louis growing up too, and he used Sambat. So I was like, well, I'm swinging Sambat. Because of Bonds, you'll notice that I always use Black Barrel Red Cherry handle. That's a tip to him and the ASU group. So C243 was always the barrel that I kind of kept around because if I made any adjustments, it would be that I would slightly straighten it out a little bit closer to a 271. Almost it's not getting like a softball bat type, but it like has that kind of where instead of going up, then it kind of goes straight.
Yep.
Because I just wanted the biggest sweet spot I could find. And I think what changes after you find your barrel, what changes the most is probably the grip. You probably fool around with the bottom and how tapered it is and how wide it gets and stuff, and you try different things. But I think I had my own for the longest time, and at the very end, I think I tried it once, and it actually was in 20. So my last year or two was I really liked Chris Bryant's grip, but I still wanted my barrel. So you go to Sandbat, you're like, hey, keep my barrel. I'm going to send in one of Chris Bryant's bat. They have machines that laser copy it like a 3D printer, and then they'll put that grip onto your barrel, and they send you 6 to 8 bats back, and there you go from there. But so I had mine for the JK22 for a long time, but my later model probably had Chris Bryant's grip on it, if I remember.
Beautiful, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love all of it, man. Just a couple questions, last questions I got for you now that you are out of the game, kind of looking back, reflecting on the career, man. What is like the craziest or the funniest story that you got from the major leagues that you can tell us or fill us in on? And if that's a total ambush, I can come back to it.
It's not an ambush. It's just, I mean, you got to experience too. Like I said earlier, it's like I love to fuck around and have fun. So it's hard to really narrow it down. I think the dugout that we had in the Cubs for a little bit was a blast to be a part of. Almost maybe had a little bit too much fun, but that's probably because there's no people in the stands. I think we would have. It was the COVID year. We probably would have toned it down if there was more people there. And well, we might not have.
That makes sense.
I think team dinners and bus rides are just some of my favorite. I think there's only so much you can do in a baseball game. There's hilarious stuff that goes on, but when you're as a group, and whether guys have been drinking or not, or just something, and you're having rookies come up and sing, and while you get to just literally yell and berate them, and they might have a great answer and they say one word and you're just like, bow, like no matter what they say. So I always had a blast with those kind of things. Cause you like get to let your guard down. Cause everyone's like, you come like to the field, you know, it's go time. Like everybody's there. You still have fun, but it's just like, okay, you're focused and locked in. It's like people get to let their guard down with a glass of wine or two at dinner. And you get to finally like joke about maybe stuff that happened in the game that you didn't. So it might not be the best answer of like a crazy thing, but those are always the most fun nights that I had.
Love it, man. That's fantastic. Yeah. If you could go back and change anything in the career that you had, obviously, dude, you had a fantastic career, absolutely incredible career. Looking back on it, if you could go back and change.
The ball's fair in Game 7.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
Game 7, the ball stays fair, and it's the homer regardless. But it's yeah. I mean that one, I would. Because, I mean, the guy throws 100. You get facing Chapman in Game 7 of the World Series and throws 6 like sliders in a row. And so it's like you're always going to be early because you know he has 100 in the back pocket and you're just a little early on it. So it's like everyone jokes about it. It's brought up more to me than I ever bring it up. But it's like if you could change one thing, you're like, yeah, that ball stays fair and that game's over. Because I'd be doing naked cartwheels around the infield before I touch home plate if that's a walk-off Game 7.
Incredible, man.
You want to talk about being the villain when you go back home. Yeah.
Oh, God. Couldn't even imagine, brother. Could not even imagine, man. So, man, thank you for your time. Last question I got for you, man. So, obviously, like you are in the restaurant game, in the business game now that you are out of baseball, man. You're staying busy. You're getting your ass kicked with some golf, going back, doing some courses, man. It's absolutely beautiful. Going to be finishing up. Man, what kind of advice could we leave the next generation of baseball players with? Maybe a tip or two on infield, whether it's hitting, whether it's being a good teammate, maximizing your career. Like how could you leave off here with some great advice?
We touched on it earlier. Make the play. I don't care how it looks. I wasn't a flashy defender. Knock the ball down. If he's out, I don't care what it looks like. If you got to get a runner over, I don't care what it looks like. Make the play and take what the sport gives you, because it doesn't – you may go 0 for 3 and you might have your head down, but you might get that fourth at bat with that guy on third with less than 2 outs, and it could be to win the game. So the sport, as long as you keep trying to do the right thing and keep answering the bell, and you might hit a line drive and be out, but you answered the bell, you were ready this one or something. or because you hit a ground ball, but you ran hard and now this guy overthrew it or something. As long as you keep trying for 9 innings, the game will reward you. It's going to beat you down, but it's going to reward you. And I'm a big person. And before, I know this is my last question, so I wanted to add this, where you can manifest stuff in this game. You can manifest stuff off the field, on the field, in this life. And so I'm even going to flip it right now, where I'm going to give you your flowers right now, because we talked and you're like, dude, I don't know where I'm going at times. This could have been 6 months, a year ago. And I go, just take the next step. So you don't know what it is, take one step and you'll know what the next step after that is. And it's like you can attest this. You were lost for a little bit. I've been there, and we talked about this, and we've had business talks, and what do I invest in? What do I do next? And it's hard when you're an athlete and you don't know what to do once you're done. Your playing days are done. And so I'm going to give you your credit right now, because I'm a guest on your show. Your show. You have a show with followers and listeners, subscribers, and I'm going to tip my cap to you, because I know it's hard how to dig out of that hole where you don't know what your purpose is after playing, because it's not clear. And I think as long as you're doing the right things and you can manifest it, if it's something you see that you want to do, and if you want to be this type of player or whatever, if you put in that work, it happens. And so I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. And it's a blessing that I get to come on your show after all the conversations we've had.
Dude, pleasure's all mine, Kip, man. I am so grateful for your time, your expertise, letting me run you through the gauntlet, man. Thank you so much for your time, brother. Look forward to seeing the continued success on foul territory, everything that you've got going on behind the scenes, man. Look forward to seeing you again soon, brother.
I can't wait. I know this ain't the last time we're talking, so I'll talk to you soon.
Look forward to it, man. Sounds good. Everybody, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you back again here next time soon. Take care, Kip.
Later, buddy.